republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good morning, everyone. First item is the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Wright to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Luthens. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I guess I actually went over just the total agenda items. Was there a motion to approve them as well?
With no additions or corrections, I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Nagel and seconded by Commissioner Luthens to approve the agenda items. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. COVID-19. Sheila?
Good morning. I'm going to give the Health and Human Services update today for Barrett Spore. She's representing the county at a conference. As of Monday, October 4th, McLeod County has had a total of 5,480 positive cases of COVID-19 overall. That is an increase of 448 new cases since the last board meeting on September 20th. Of the new cases, 7 people needed hospitalization and 1 was admitted to the ICU. 217 active cases that required isolation. Unfortunately, we have had 66 COVID-19 related deaths since the start of the pandemic. 3 of those deaths have been since Barrett's last report. She encourages you to check out the COVID-19 dashboard on the county website's homepage for more statistics. In regards to McLeod County COVID-19 vaccination efforts, the county continues to provide a COVID-19 vaccinations here at the McLeod County Government Center on a weekly basis. Local public health has held 62 vaccination clinics overall. They've administered 5,152 first doses, 3,902 second doses, and 13 third doses. That's a total of 9,067 doses administered. Local public health has 1 vaccination clinic scheduled for this week on Thursday, October 7th, and that will be our first clinic at McLeod County offering both Moderna and Pfizer vaccinations. Check out McLeod County's website for more information or to register for a clinic. McLeod County COVID-19 vaccination statistics as of September 29th. 50.3% of people in the county have received at least a dose. In the 12 plus age range, 59.2% have received at least 1 dose. 16 plus age range, 61.1% have received at least 1 dose. And 65 plus age range, 83.5% have received at least 1 dose. And the source for that is the Minnesota Department of Health vaccine data website. At McLeod County, we're continuing to host weekly COVID-19 vaccination clinics for the first, second, and third doses. You know that we're offering the Moderna and Pfizer vaccine, which is new, and that's for the newly approved booster doses. We continue to post the COVID-19 related data each week on Tuesdays, and the McLeod County partners are working together with the state and regional partners to find a way to reopen the Hutchinson Armory saliva testing site to meet the community's need for COVID-19 testing, which is currently exceeding our healthcare providers' capacity. A meeting with McLeod County school administrations and healthcare providers to discuss the current status of COVID-19 in our community, including vaccinations and testing capacity, is planned in the next 2 weeks. Priority for the COVID-19 vaccination remains to vaccinate those who are unvaccinated. That is the end of her update.
Thank you. Any questions for Barrett's update? I don't know if you combined it with your own or do you want
I did not. Mine's a lot shorter.
Okay.
Then go ahead and with your update.
So for the administration update for COVID-19, we're still working with the American Rescue Plan Act. As you know, last night we met with the McLeod County Townships. We've continued to work with them and our cities. And tomorrow, October 6th, here at the McLeod County Government Center at 8 a.m., we are meeting with the townships and cities. We are also meeting with them at 7 p.m. at the Hutchinson Event Center. And we're going to just go over American Rescue Plan Act guidelines that have changed, timelines that have changed. It is important to note that we did receive approval this morning, or confirmation this morning, that all of our townships have applied for their funds. I believe all of our cities have also applied for and received at least part of their funds, and the county has as well. So McLeod County, cities, townships, and ourselves are at 100% utilization of the American Rescue Plan allocation to our area. Any questions?
Board, any questions for Cheryl?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Auditor Treasurer Connie.
Good morning,
morning.
Mr. Chair, board members. Item A I'm here for today is to consider adopting Resolution 21CB 30 to approve the lease agreement PS 0394 between McLeod County and the State of Minnesota Department of Public Safety Driver and Vehicle Services for leased space within our McLeod County Government Center here on Chandler Avenue. The history, so the lease PS 0332 between McLeod County and the State of Minnesota Department of Public Safety Driver and Vehicle Services, DVS, expired this year on June 30th, 2021 because of the late signing of the state's biennium budget. During this fiscal year, DVS was not authorized to renew any leases. DVS has been utilized in Glencoe as a driver exam station since 2020 when the state of Minnesota closed many driver exam stations due to the COVID-19 pandemic. DVS has now been allocated funding to hire more examiners and have been mandated to reopen any locations that previously closed. So this new lease will begin in January of 2022 and continue through June of 2026. At this point in time, I've been notified by the DVS Assistant Regional Supervisor that Glencoe will be a road test facility only with no CDL activity and no administration of written tests. Those services may be brought back by the state of Minnesota, but currently there is no information as to when. And then I just need to add one item to that. Late yesterday, we received an email from DVS notifying us that they could possibly return to Glencoe in November of this year. We requested that they prepare an addendum to this lease so that we can move forward with this one, and then if that happens, I would bring that one to a future board meeting.
I don't have any questions on that specifically, but I do have today. There's such a shortage for exams for CDLs. I mean, everybody's looking to, bus drivers, farmers are looking to get. Is there any reasoning besides what you just read that is it help, or I don't even know where these people are supposed to go and get tested?
That's not our deal. That's a state's deal, and we are not in control of how they allocate their resources or where they assign what.
No, but I mean, she commented that I was just wondering what the reasoning they gave on it comes up everywhere. And is there some way we can comment to their opinion or what they gave you?
The last conversation that I had with our regional assistant manager was that he didn't feel that the site was the best any longer. So I don't know. I mean, I can have,
Okay.
further communication. Their payment is the same regardless.
Okay, because I thought we made allowances to be better for their.
And it may just be that they're not ready to do that yet.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
probably
sure,
right.
like Mike said.
Board, any questions for Connie?
I just wanted to add, kind of odd. Yesterday, I had one of my constituents call, frustrated at how far they had to drive for testing and so forth. And I had to explain, well, it's the state's call, and we do this for discussion today. But I think that it's fair to say there is some frustration out there as to why here we are in McLeod County, why we are not able to offer this. But again, it is like Mr. Young pointed out, it's the state's plate. So.
That's what state legislators are for too, if you want to give them a call and talk about something.
It will still be frustrating when they come in and are only able to do the road test here and not the written. I'm sure the reps will hear it, but again, that's the state's call.
Yeah.
He did mention that they're moving away from paper, So at this time, they're using computers, touchscreen computers, and so until such time they can maybe get additional laptops to bring out when they test, we probably wouldn't be one of those facilities for now.
Well, I still appreciate the conversation because at least it makes a clearer picture of, it's not us or we're just doing what we can do. So if there's no more questions for Connie, I would entertain a motion to approve this.
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Luthens. Any more discussion? Everyone in favor of approving 21 CB 30, the lease agreement PSO 39-4, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Okay,
Done.
item B was to present the McLeod County census data, so reviewing 2010 to 2020. The first item that I had in the packet was the population counts by decade. So you can see back to between 1960 and 1970, McLeod County increased 13.36% to 27,662. And then they were pretty average in their increases, about 7.5, 8, almost 9% between 1980, 1990, and 2000. And then in 2010, we increased 5.02% to 36,651. And now in 2020, we pretty much stayed the same, but we gained, I think, 120. So our population count is now 36,771, and our increase over the prior decade was 0.33%. The next page in the packet was the population change by entity. That is inclusive of all of the voting districts. So you can see, Lesser Prairie is the highest at 9.4%, and Stewart City is the lowest at minus 14.36%. A couple of the other highs is probably where you would expect. Glencoe P1 rose 5.42%, Hutchinson P1 rose 6.3%, and then a couple of the other lowest were Bergen Township at negative 9.54 and Sumter Township at negative 9.16. The third page in the packet was the population change by commissioner district. So we can see from 2010 to 2020 still the same numbers at the bottom, and then by district what the counts are, and then also the percentage of population. So District 1 has 21.11%, District 2 has 20.18%, District 3 has 18.74%, District 4 has 20.72%, and District 5 has 19.25%. Any questions on the population counts?
What is, Mr. Young, what is the actual number to where we have to do any?
You have to wait because first the feds have to redistrict, then the state has to redistrict in conformance with the Fed redistricting, and then we have to redistrict in conformance with the state redistricting. So,
It's always, okay. Very
so patience.
Right, so I had that also. The redistricting schedule, February 15th is the deadline for congressional and legislative plans to be complete. And then March 29th is the precinct and city redistricting. And then by April 26th, the county commissioner and other redistricting deadlines. So I know that the county also can redistrict even if they're not mandated to, but we'll move forward as we go. And there's additional trainings almost every week or so with OSS, and we'll have a big one coming up in October.
Any other questions for Connie on the census data?
One of the areas that you could see a change in is that there is a push to put communities together. Right now, there's a split of Hutchinson along Highway 15. There's a split of Lakeville and a bunch of other cities. So they may try to put those cities into the same legislative districts. And if they do that, then you may have to do something.
Okay, thank you. So we'll wait and see.
Exactly. Thank you.
And there's no action to be taken on this, it's just strictly information, correct?
Exactly. Just information for now.
And we're a little ahead on our public hearing, so do we want to try to take one of our other items first, or no?
Mr. Chair, CMJCS won't be available until after 9:30. I believe they're not online, or not here, sorry. If you want to go ahead and take John's item?
John, are you ready?
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
might
you.
as well take Public Works. Thanks, Connie. Morning, John.
Morning. First item is, get down to it here, is to consider a quote from Dunnick Incorporated out of Princeburg to do a bituminous maintenance overlay on a portion of County Road 115 or Airport Road in Hutchinson. This is between County Road 7 and Trunk Highway 22, portions of that. The quote we got from Dunnick for that work is $124,386.48. So a little background, County Road 115, as you know, we were going to do that project this year with a concrete overlay. The roundabout safety project came up at the intersection of Jefferson, so then we postponed this project to time it with the roundabout project so we wouldn't have to impact traffic and have a detour 2 separate times within a couple years. So as you know, the condition of that road is getting kind of tough. So some options were one is to have a contractor perform a maintenance overlay on that, a real thin scratch course, similar to kind of what we did maybe on County Road 5 and 16, but not as extensive. We can certainly have our highway forces patch it, which we've done which we always do every year with our box patcher, do the crack patching on it. The ride, I don't think we'll get as good as of a ride out of the project than if we hired a contractor to come in with a paving operation. So there's some options for us, or we have to do some stuff. We certainly have to do some patching on that road if we do nothing. There's some holes that are developing that, like any road that's getting tired, needs some little TLC on it. So I guess the question would be, do we want to spend this kind of money on this road to carry it over for 2 years? It's a busy road. It's probably one of our top 3-4 roads, busiest roads in the county, 115. So it's not like it'd be worth it, I think, to do. We certainly got to do something. Do we want to do this much? I guess I'm looking for some direction on that.
It seems bigger than just a patch.
It does, yeah. And the patching, like I said, we can patch it this fall. It's all weather dependent. We got a good window now. Patching would be cheaper than hiring an overlay, but we'll be patching it more frequently within 2 years if we don't do this maintenance overlay.
If you were able to get a maintenance overlay, is there any time left? I mean,
Yeah, so Dunnick's schedule is right around when they would come back from Morningside. Same plant setup, so they're looking at probably the 3rd week in October to perform this work.
Mr. Chair.
go ahead.
Yeah, I had asked John to bring this forward, to consider that road is in very, very bad shape. And like, as he said, it's a very popular travel route. I have been getting some people asking questions, why is it so rough? And with 2 years out, before we give it the bigger treatment, I think that we definitely have to do this. It's, you take anything with heavier suspension, like a truck across that thing, and it's horrible. It really is pretty bad. So I think it's more responsible of us to fix the ride on that thing. It is a price tag, but 2 years from now, I think we'll be glad we did it, because I think we're on the edge of seeing a lot more complaints about it. So I'm going to make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Wright and seconded by Commissioner Nagel to approve. Now, this number is a not to exceed number, or is just an estimate, or
That's
how?
an estimate. I don't recommend you do a not to exceed unless you do it for 10,000-15,000 more. This is based on an estimated, tonnage of mix. It could be more, it could be less.
I'll just say with an estimated cost of what you've got down here at $124,386.48. Is there any more discussion?
John, are you comfortable with a not to exceed 140,000?
I'd like to say 150.
Okay.
And that's your striping and everything?
No, that would just be
That
for the,
striping's on
that
top
would be
of
for the Dunnex portion.
Okay. I'll change my motion to not to exceed 150, if that's okay with the second.
Motion's been amended to read 100, not to exceed 150, has been approved by the motion's seconder. Is there any discussion on this?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not going to support the motion because my thinking on that is if we have cracks, we should be addressing those with crack repair. I do agree that the road does need some maintenance to get it into another, to make it last for another 2 years. But I think repairing the cracks and treating those would be less of a risk of failure than just trying an overlay to address those cracks. So I won't support a motion on that basis.
Any other discussion?
I'll add that, the mix they'll use on this road is a sand mix. It's a finer mix, so I think you will get the mix going into the cracks. So to say we're not addressing the cracks, I think is not correct. I guess I think we will address the cracks, maybe not to the extent that you would if you did, a separate crack repair project.
John, in 2 years, what are we doing with that road? Are we
So that road's getting a
digging it up?
concrete overlay, so we'd be milling off the portion we put down plus some other portion of the road and then putting the concrete overlay on top. So the mix that would be out there, plus some of the existing mix would go back into shouldering or aggregate for, other projects.
So we're able to reuse this?
We're able to recycle it back in a couple of years, yes.
Do you have an estimate of 2 years of our own maintenance trying to crack fill? I mean, to me, I'm starting to put that in my head that
Yeah.
we'd spend just as much on it anyway.
I don't think we'd spend this amount, but keep in mind, we're short 2 maintenance workers right now and they're hard to find. And so we got keep up with other projects as well. And this is pretty maintenance intensive when we talk about patching these two. So we'll certainly spend a good fair amount on it. If we didn't do this, it would be more. This isn't gonna, this isn't a magic bullet necessarily. So if we're out there next year patching it and people see that, we could still be patching different areas that develop with holes and so forth. But we're just this is just a Band-Aid.
Any more questions or discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Just a final comment. Two, if we did just a crack repair, it would affect the striping plan, I think, that we're going to be looking at next. Would I be correct on that, John?
If we could stay within, the big portion of that road right now, the center line seam is really opening up, so we'd have to patch that quite a bit. So we'd have to look at center line striping that anyway if we patched it with our maintenance forces. So I still think we'd be looking at item B for some striping. The shoulder, as much as we do on the cracks are going into the shoulder, so the edge line, the existing edge line paint will get obliterated quite a bit, even if we just did our own maintenance forces patching it. So I think we'd be looking at striping either way, given the volume on that road.
In 2 years, can we look at it optimistically? Could it maybe actually stay longer if it looks real good and do some, depending on what the situation is in 2 years? I mean, it's not locked in stone that we have to do the overlay in 2 years, is that right? Or are you pretty much locked in on that?
We could shuffle it around in our 5-year plan a little bit. That's kind of what we've been doing the public engagements. We've been saying 2 years. We're hopeful in 2 years we'll get some HSIP money for the roundabout.
Okay.
Timing it with that, yeah.
When is the roundabout going to be built at Jefferson and
2023 is what we're planning, yeah.
Plus, Mr. Chair, the plan all along was now to combine those two projects to close the road down just one season, let's
Ideally,
say.
we want one season, one detour, one traffic impact for the public, one major traffic impact, I should say.
Any more questions or discussion for John? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the overlay 115 Airport Road, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
A roll call. Commissioner Luthens?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
I'm yes. Commissioner Nagel?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmalz?
Negative.
Passes 4-1.
You know, we should add, I didn't mention, but there were 2 other quotes received as in the packet. We just didn't mention them at the meeting here, but. Item B then is for this striping for that project. AAA striping out of St. Michael was the low quote for the, actually the other ones are significantly higher than that. So the price from AAA marking is $7,792.64 up to $19,171. The reason for that is if they have to go into a cold weather type of paint, they'd have to look at epoxy paint for that. Epoxy is more money than latex. Right now, they're hopeful that, we'll be able to get this done within our temperature windows for the latex paint, so it'll be that $7,792.64.
John, do you want to, before we have to go back and do it differently, what would be a decent not to exceed number to put on that motion then?
I'd say 10,000.
But if you have to go to the epoxy paint, then all of a sudden we're plus 20, so.
Then we should maybe go not to exceed 22,000.
Okay, make a motion not to exceed 22,000.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Wright and seconded by Commissioner Nagel to approve the striping with a not to exceed $22,000. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Just for clarity, I'll support the striping due to the fact that it adds a lot of safety to our roadway, and really that should be our highest concern as we look at these projects moving forward.
Any other discussion? I'll just comment as well. I'm supporting both of these because of the safety aspect. I mean, I have gone, in the last few years, gone to Hutch more than I've ever done before, and there's any time of the day or night you can turn off at 22 going into Hutch, and there's a steady bank of cars there. And I just overall having our guys patch for how long, or I just think it's a better safety
That's a good point, yeah.
process. So that's why I'm supporting it.
All right. Item C, Morningside update.
We have to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold on, John. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Go ahead, John.
All right, item C, Morningside update, Morningside project. So the roundabout curb, the curb has been replaced. Some of the median curb has been replaced, has been approved in the past. Yesterday, we met on site with SCH and a couple other commissioners were there, verifying different widths of the road. The widths are all per plan. The curb heights were per plan. I think we have those concerns addressed. Signage has been important to everybody, and we'll review the signage plan when it comes to installation and make the adjustments as necessary and do as much adjustment as we can with the signs and for the placement of those to make sure that we can accommodate in the best manner for the ag implements and the larger loads and stuff out there. And if there's signs that aren't necessary, we'll review those again. But right now everything in the plan we believe is all it's per the Minnesota manual that we follow for signage and so forth. So if we can tweak them or move them a little bit to like I mentioned, to accommodate the larger vehicles, we'll do that. There's a couple minor curb replacements that are going to be done when they come back for the driveways near the railroad tracks to improve the grade a little bit. There's a couple things that the project inspectors noticed that they think should be tweaked. That'll be done when they come back for the driveways. The last schedule we received from Dunning, they're planning on resuming the grading work or the dirt work later this week. Concrete work was planned for the week of October 11th, so next week they'll come back and do the driveways. That was the latest plan. And then the bituminous paving right now, the plant that's coming here, from what I understand, is out in South Dakota. They'll be moving that the middle of October, and they'll be set to start paving on Morningside the week of the 18th. I don't know if that'll be before the Hutch overlay now or if it'll be after that, but the week of the 18th is when we'll be seeing some bituminous in the county on either of those jobs. So
Sooner the better for me.
Right.
The only thing I wanted you to clear up now on that improvement, or I don't know if Justin wants to do it or if you want to do it, but that right by the railroad tracks, that was a great idea. I was one, and Nathan were out there yesterday to bring that right up to the tracks. I don't know if you want to explain that in engineers' terms, but that I think that was a good idea and a good point. So.
Yeah, we'll let Justin go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things we're looking at is the way the roadway meets the tracks itself. And as John had mentioned, we're going to have the contractor just do some adjustments to the very end curb sections right at the tracks just to get a smoother ride. And I think there's a safety factor too. As 30-mile-per-hour traffic goes over those tracks, you want to have a nice smooth transition there. And that's something that they can do when they come back to do the rest of the concrete work. They still have to place concrete in the medians and do the residential driveways, so they're going to be coming back, and then they'll make some adjustments there. But it's something, like John had mentioned, that our inspectors on the project noticed, and we want to get that corrected. Otherwise, everything else, as John had mentioned, the measurements checked out, the new curb installed looks great, and everything seems to be moving forward. So I think we're headed in a positive direction.
I just comment on it as well as it looks. I appreciated that we threw that in there because if you are wide and you're going over it, you're going to smoothly go through. You're not going to hit 3 bumps. It's one transition from the time you leave one of those mediums to joining the other one. So, which is, I think is going to help. I made a couple of phone calls yesterday to the critics. I'm using a layman's airplane version of going through there once you're up on it. I mean, the way it looks to me and the way we had several people up there, once you're up on it, if you can center to the lines and come through there, it should never change from one end to the other. It's a 5-inch surmountable, and if you're clearing, just pay attention to your widths. It should be fine. I'm concerned about a couple of signs, but we'll see how they go. They're mandated to go in there, so we have to put them in, so we'll see how it works. But I made a couple calls and kind of explained there was some things that it's a 2-foot curve. The way the curve set in on crooked ground, it changes the perception of what the back of the surmountable looks like. So hopefully, I got my fingers crossed as well. Let's get her done.
I think the other thing, once you see the bituminous in there up to the grade of all the concrete curb, it'll look a lot different too, and it'll come together. So, yeah, we agree. So by contract and the new changes, everything has to be done by October 31st. So they'll be under the gun a little bit, but hopefully we'll have the weather. And like I said, they'll be paving by around the 18th. So.
I mean, I realized the challenges with putting them on either 115 or this, but I mean, they're probably going to have a bigger advantage to get Morningside done if that's in the contract. I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, I think they'll go there first. That's my hunch, because it's contractually they're under the gun. We don't have a set time with the overlay.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Nick.
And then to sum up what's been said here, thanks to Justin and John and Commissioner Kruger for that meeting we had out there yesterday. It did answer some questions that I had, and I think Justin did an excellent job of explaining, the methodology involved in the project, and I was satisfied with our walking the project yesterday, and I thanks for that.
All right.
I have no more. Unless
the one thing I would mention maybe that was brought up yesterday, Justin can touch on why there's a 4-inch curb section. You want to talk about that so the public knows?
So they know, that'd be great.
So on the south side of the tracks, it'd be the easterly curb line where the residential homes are. There's a couple of houses that sit, I'll say, right at the bottom of the roadway, just across from the grocery store, where there's yards slope towards the roadway. And in order for us to get good drainage, both from their driveway and from the road itself, we went to a shorter 4-inch curb in that area to provide positive drainage. And instead of just doing maybe 100 or 150 foot segment and then having a transition from 4 to 6, a decision was made to do just that entire curb line with 4-inch, so that it's one monolithic piece of curb. And again, just looking at it, everything appears to look good. It's going to drain well, and it fits nicely in there. But I know there was some questions, why 4-inch on that portion, and that's really the reason why, is to accommodate that drainage.
There was questions on why some was a slanting, so
Yeah.
and that explained that, and and I didn't bring my notes along. Do you remember, I was just gonna comment on, we did some measurements from the curb to the sign. We had what,
26 feet. So coming in, if you're southbound, coming into that roundabout, it was 26 feet was the width as you come in. When we took the measurement up near the actual tracks for the crossing in, and that was 23 feet. So that was the measurements we
That's the
took.
narrowest point, and that should accommodate, I mean, I have some experience with the bigger equipment, that should bring them right through there. I mean, you don't leave your heads on, and the equipment that I looked at is 18 to 19 and a half feet, maybe at the maximum, most 18 and a half, so it should work. I mean,
One other thing that, just expanding on what John mentioned a minute ago, once the bituminous pavement is in there, it's going to look obviously more complete. But in addition to that, there is striping that'll go in the entire corridor, which will also guide the vehicles through, whether they're big or small, and that'll provide another level of safety and just getting the vehicles through the roundabout and the railroad crossing. So I think that'll make things look a lot different too once we get to the finished product.
right, and then if you guys commented that usually when they lay the bituminous, they try to go, flush or a quarter inch higher, which
That's correct.
that'll help a lot as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Are any questions from the board yet for either one?
No.
I have one yet.
Go ahead.
Can you explain why we need the media in the middle? What determines the width of that?
Are you referring to the median at the railroad crossing?
Yes.
It's a safety feature so that when the gates go down, vehicles can't do a U-turn and try to get around the gates. So it's really part of the railroad safety design. And that was something we worked closely with the railroad on in developing the whole project and the crossing itself.
Thank you.
Go ahead, John. You have an update yet on
Yep, so the fly-in summary. So, as you know, I went to the fly-in last week before. Commissioner Nagel, Commissioner Schmalz, and I, approximately 50 attendees from Minnesota, so it was a good group of attendees. It was a little different than the past. The meeting sizes were restricted. You needed passes to be escorted around everywhere. You couldn't roam the buildings like we used to kind of roam and talk to other ones. It was really tighter that way. Meetings, we had a couple of the meetings were remote meetings, a few in-persons that were smaller groups. Commissioner Nagel attended the meeting with Emmer staff, Commissioner Schmalz at a remote meeting with Angie Craig and the Tina Smith staff. All three of us with a larger group from Fishbox District. She was in there for a little bit, and then we talked to her legislative director, Nick Lunenberg. And like I said, it was a larger group. Seemed like the big dominating thing in that conversation seemed to be that volunteer driver reimbursement rate. They're trying to work on that. Currently it's at 14 cents. It's been there forever. They want that to be higher. I mentioned the importance of our HSIP investments in the new infrastructure bill, which is right now still not passed yet. They're waiting through the reconciliation bill that they're going back and forth on. Mentioned the importance of reducing federal regulations and streamlining the permit process. That's been a big push for the National Association of County Engineers, as well as certainly everybody. It saves time and money if we can get those federal regs faster or go through quicker. The importance of consistent, stable funding was mentioned in the new bill as well, rather than having sporadic amounts of money thrown at it every so often. 212, of course, we brought up as you know, Carver County is currently seeking $10 million in a RAISE grant. That's the new federal discretionary grant program. So they're hopeful to get that money. That'll lighten up Carver's local option sales tax vote toward the 212 project. Otherwise, broadband, like it was mentioned as well. Otherwise, I don't know what else to add, really. I think it's a good opportunity still. It's unfortunate we couldn't have larger groups like in the past, but I still think it's important that we keep our faces in front of them. It's a good networking with peers in front of our representatives and senators. Yeah.
Commissioner Schmalz and Nagel, do you want to comment now, or do you want to wait for your calendars? Do you want to
I'll just make a short comment, Mr. Chair. I think John summarized the event very well. I think, too, thinking back on the reaction to the people that we were meeting with was if you bring a key word into the conversation, such as safety, I believe that kind of rings a bell. I mean, even though we may not have a major project running here in our county, safety is still a concern as we look at these J-turns and roundabouts that are coming into our county here in a short time frame.
Yeah, John pretty much stole my calendar report, so I'll be super short. But it's pretty interesting how the sausage is made out there, and that's what. But it's worth it, and I know it's hard for everybody to wrap their head around that, but it is worth it. It is, and they said it again. It's very important for us to be there and know who we are, and for to talk to them. I think we really got an ally in Representative Fishbach's office because, what was his name, Nick? He came from Representative Emmer's office and went there, and I think that's huge for us, especially with all the work we had to do with Emmer regarding 212. And honestly, I think the credibility we gained by going to see him, even though it wasn't our representative and it's outside the district, and then vice versa, right? You know, asking at that point Representative Peterson for his support, and I really think we gained some credibility out there doing that. And I think that if we continue to foster that, it'll be a good thing, and it'll pay off in the future. So it was certainly worth it. I mean, I think I figured out I was gone 47 hours total, you know, so it's not, you know, not a lot of downtime, but that's all right. Yeah, so.
The other thing I'll add is that, you know, with the new administration, the earmark or the prioritized projects, I think those are coming back. So it's even more important to keep your face in front of them, because, you know, we could have a project someday, we could support another project. So.
Yeah, among other things, that I agree that it was important for the guys to go out there, and when they see you coming, they don't need to know your name, they just need to know you're there for 212. That's the way I was looking at it. So that's the important part. So thanks, guys.
Mr.
Any
Chair,
questions?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to the three of you for representing McLeod County out there. So thanks for that effort.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Back to our public hearing. Connie?
Okay, good morning again.
Good morning.
So the second piece, I am here for the public hearing of the drainage assessments. This hearing was published in the McLeod County Chronicle on September 15th, 22nd, and 29th, which does satisfy the requirements for a public hearing. I've passed out a couple documents to you. The one with more blue on it, and then which is the assessments, and then the one with more white on it, which is the account activity. I do want to remind the board and the public that our annual weed and tree spraying is now being funded by the riparian aid account, meaning the drainage systems will not be paying for these services as long as there are funds in the riparian aid account. The other expenses column includes repair activity, and repair activity has been reviewed with the drainage inspector.
Sorry, Connie, can you pause, please? I apologize. Do we need to vote to
Oh,
open the public
you need to
hearing?
open it.
Sorry, Liz reminded me. I apologize.
Thank you.
So moved.
Go ahead, either one.
I'm sorry.
Motion
that's
made by
fine.
Commissioner Nagel,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Smalls. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Public hearing's open. I apologize.
No, I'm sorry. Do I need to repeat?
No.
All right. Okay. So the repair activity has been reviewed with the drainage inspector to include projects that will be paid by the end of the year. And then the county and joint drainage assessment history that details out the past 5 years of assessments. And the assessments are the recommendations, of mine and the drainage duo, which would be Ryan Freitag and Adam Lesky, for payable year 2022 assessments. And they may include repair funding for upcoming 2022 projects. I did want to make one other note, and you will notice that on the page that has more blue on it, the assessment history, that there will be 5 systems that will more than likely have multi-year assessments given to them by the end of the year, and those will be when their completion of redetermination of benefits are done at their final hearing. Those assessment terms will be approved then at their final hearing. With that said, I'll provide the assessments by drainage systems. Please add comments or suggestions as I go along, questions. And when we've completed with the discussion and the public comment, then I will take one motion, please. Okay. So, Drainage Code 621, CD5, $20,000, 1 year. 622, CD8, $7,100, 1 year. CD10, $7,100, 1 year. 624, CD11, $10,000, 1 year. 625, CD12A, $15,000, 1 year. 626, CD13, $10,000, 1 year. 631, CD18, $1,000, 1 year. 632, CD19A, $15,000, 1 year. 634, CD21, $1,000, 1 year. 635, CD22, $2,000, 1 year. 636, CD25, $6,711, 1 year. 639, CD28, $2,000, 1 year. 640, CD29, $5,000, 1 year. 644, CD35, $12,250, 1 year. 646, CD36, $6,100, 1 year. 648, CD38, $1,000, 1 year. 649, CD40, $25,000, 1 year. 650, CD63, $10,000, 1 year. 651, CD64, $15,000, 1 year. 661, JD1, Renville, McLeod, Meeker, $4,000, 1 year. 664, JD4, McLeod, Renville, $25,000, 1 year. 665, JD5, Carver, McLeod, $2,500, 1 year. 667, JD8, McLeod, Sibley, $45,000, 1 year. 669, JD9, McLeod, $33,200, 1 year. 669, JD9, McLeod again, $25,000, 1 year. 674, JD13, Meeker, McLeod, $2,000, 1 year. 675, JD14, Wright, McLeod, Meeker, $10,000, 1 year. 677, JD15, McLeod, Sibley, $1,000, 1 year. 678, JD15, Wright, Meeker, McLeod, $1,000, 1 year. 679, JD17, McLeod, Sibley, $32,763.29. That's a 5-year. 680, JD18, Sibley, McLeod, $13,650.03 is a 5-year. 680, JD18, Sibley, McLeod, $20,000 is a 1 year. 681, JD19, Sibley, McLeod, $10,000, 1 year. 682, JD24, Sibley, McLeod, Renville, $26,000, 1 year. 682, JD24, Sibley, McLeod, Renville, $80,000, $539.88 is a 5-year. 684, JD32, Sibley, McLeod, $39.98, a 1 year. 685, JD15, Renville, Sibley, McLeod, $1,354.79, a 5-year. 686, JD 65, Sibley McLeod, $25.08 is a 1 year. Okay. Questions, comments?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
And Connie, on CD5, right away at the second entry where you started, $20,000 payable in 2020. Will there be an option for those landowners to spread the cost out if they find that it's too much of a burden to bear in that 1 year?
No, once we put these assessments on and it's a 1 year term, it's all payable in 1 year. That assessment is the same as the assessment of the prior year, $20,000, and it is for old expenses on the system. Trying to get caught up.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Connie? That's good. It is an open hearing. I just want to
Yes.
clarify one thing first, though, with Nathan. Those terms are usually put on at the ditch at the time of doing the projects. If we do that, if my memory serves me right, that's when we assess years.
Well, that normally would be correct, but CD5 at June 30th of 2021 owed the general fund $95,100, and they had a negative balance in their account of $52,150. So they are for old expenses that we're going to be catching up. We're going to be putting that assessment on for many years.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied with the explanation, being you explained it's for old expenses, because what I'm looking at is, our future expenses that we're going to be spending on the system, and we'll address that when the time comes.
Right.
Okay.
Is there any member of the public or anybody on the system that wishes to comment?
Francis?
Please state your name and which system you're on.
Francis Swoboda, and I'm on several systems. JD9 is the main one, and there's 3 or 4 others that I'm involved in.
Okay.
I guess I a little bit misunderstood what this meeting was about, but the word future was brought up, so I'd like to discuss that, see what the board is thinking about when they go ahead and put assessments on prior to an expensive year. How are they going to handle those assessments on the tax rolls? And if a parcel is sold, who pays for it? Because right now all assessments are made on prior work that benefits the land. If you're putting on future assessments and I sell the land, but I've paid for 2-3 years already, shouldn't and have not received benefits because the work hasn't been done, shouldn't I be returned that money? And the new owner, because they will benefit from the work, shouldn't they be responsible for all assessments going forward?
Mike is Mr. Young is grabbing, but I don't know. Could you clarify? He said on future work. I don't know where we assess for future work.
Well, what she has said is that you are looking forward to what might be needed next year, correct?
Okay.
So what your future means within 2022.
See, that's what I misunderstood. I thought the board was planning, because there needs to be discussion because of all these assessments. As a perfect example, my real estate taxes this year were $46,000. My ditch assessment was about $27,000, or 42% of my tax bill. Okay, that's fine. I have no problem with that. Don't misunderstand me. But now if all of a sudden you start talking about putting future assessments on, including the ones I'm paying now, that's going to put a burden on me. But back to my question is, if the board starts doing this, which is what should be done, is starting to put assessments on so that there's money in the funds, because like she said, there's certain systems that are way behind that you need to start collecting. So I'm just trying to get ahead of the game and find out, or I guess I should say, bring it to the board's attention that they should be maybe looking at as a possible problem in the future.
There are a couple of things that get weighed against. One is that the state auditor says that none of our ditch balances should ever have a negative balance, which is totally unrealistic, but that's what they ding us on our audit every year about. So the board is constantly trying to get those fund balances to or above zero. As far as a future sale, if the board were to say put on a $20,000 assessment for work that's going to be done in 2022, if you were to sell the property, that would be between you and your buyer to make an accommodation for that. It would not be accommodated within your tax statement.
Okay, because when you sell right now, you have, if there's any assessments on there, the owner of record has to pay before the transaction can be completed. They have to pay any assessments that's on that property. So that's why, again, I'm looking to the future, and then there would be assessments on there because we paid, if you get to that point where you're assessing 2-3 years ahead.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
We currently aren't going 2 or 3 years ahead.
Like I say, I misunderstood when I read the notice in the paper. I thought you were talking about a future plan of getting ahead of the game.
Usually, the way I understand it, and Mr. Young can correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, we set these, when the amount of money for the project is usually set out, we do it to help the landowner spread the costs over a number of years. And I'm not aware of too many assessments that are made ahead of time, ahead of work. Now, in this case, we have some, and Ryan can comment, but we have some projects that are going to be made. But you are correct. When you sell, the assessments need to be brought up to date before you can change the name on the abstract.
I guess that's all I have. Thank you.
And Mr.
I
Chair.
wish I could make it a little clearer. I kind of get it. Nathan, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add for clarity, when I said future, I was being very specific, with CD5 in mind, knowing that we have work coming up and that we're looking at doing repairs on that system. I was not referring to all systems in general, just specifically
Thank
CD5.
you.
Thank you.
I just want to make a couple clarifying statements also. So 103E.735 does allow the Drainage Authority to create a repair fund for drainage system to be used only for repairs. So it is within that we can, assess for future. But regarding JD9, unfortunately, that is one of those systems that is still repaying old. They did have 2 assessments this year. And even after the $33,000 200 assessment, that account is in the hole by about $60,000. And their other assessment that I put on there for $25,000 is for their current year expenses. They did some tiling out there. So in that case, there isn't anything being built on that system for future.
Questions? Any more questions for Connie? Or from the audience? How would you like to proceed?
So you're looking for a motion?
Motion.
So you want
Yes,
one
one
motion,
motion.
so it'd be Resolution 21 CB 28. Motion's been made by Commissioner Nagel. Is there a second?
Second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright to approve Resolution 21 CB 28. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and then the second piece of the public hearing is to consider approval of the 2022 drainage assessment interest. So this would be the interest on the rate of loans from the general funds to the systems that are in deficit.
What have we been charging, or?
I think last year was the first year we went to 3%.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to set the interest rate at 3%.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to set interest at 3%. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Luthens. Any discussion? We tried to keep it down, and I mean, we have our administrative costs and everything, so I feel that's, at least at this time, is a reasonable interest. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of setting our interest at 3%, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Motion made by Commissioner Luthens, seconded by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Sheila's Central Minnesota Jobs, are we ready to proceed with that?
Yes, I believe so. Oh, sorry, you're right over here. He'll be on the screen in a moment.
Good morning, everyone.
Obviously, we're a little bit behind schedule,
Morning.
so if we could go from about 10 to 10:20, that would be good. Thank you.
Well, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Barb Chavy. I'm the CEO for Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services, which serves 11 counties in the central part of our state, including McLeod County. I was also born and raised here, so it's always great to come back home. Actually, 2020 actually marks our 37th year as partners in workforce development, providing workforce development services right here in McLeod County. We're very proud and honored to continue that partnership. And so I'll go to the next slide, as I know we have a short time, so I'm going to try to get through. As your fiscal agent and your administrative entity, it is my responsibility to provide you with the business part of our morning, which is audit, the annual program performance report, and in your packets you're going to see the schedule of insurances, and those schedule of insurances has D&O insurance that the Joint Powers Board has asked us to have a $2 million policy, so that I know that Commissioner Schmalz is covered. So just so you know. And then also in your packet is LMI data. That LMI data is done by Luke Greiner, and what that is going to do is you can take that with you to any of your other meetings, so you have all of your data right there on McLeod County. So next, the most important part of our presentation this morning is not me bringing you lots of business information. It is really about my staff talking to you about what's happening here in your county, and a focus on the programs and services that are delivered here in this county. Next is, of course, our pictures. There are actually 11 county commissioners that reside on our Joint Powers Board. One is elected from each one of the counties. You will recognize the very handsome picture down here of one of our newbies, McLeod County Commissioner Nathan Schmalz. And for a very short time, he has really shown his leadership already. As you know, I've just sitting here listening to him, even at this board meeting. He is a great leader, and I expect a lot from him. The next one to the left is Candido High County Commissioner Steve Gardner, who is also new, who took Harlan Madsen's place. And I know that Ron Chemansky retired from here, and I know that he was replaced by Nathan, or Commissioner Smalls, sorry. To the left is Commissioner Les Nielsen, who is actually from Kanabec County, and he is the longest serving commissioner, 19 years. He'll be 20 years come December. So kudos to him. Next slide, you're going to see two people you probably recognize, and that's Meeker County Commissioner Steve Schmidt, and then Renville County Commissioner Greg Snow. Next slide, please. This is our map. And this is a map of local workforce development. Area 5 is right smack in the middle. You're going to see that kind of a grayish green area. And that's the 11 counties that we serve. I put this map up here so that you could see that we also added a couple more sites in the north, Malacca, North Branch, Pine City, and Sandstone. These also are called specialized centers, and they serve public assistant programs in the north. Monticello is the comprehensive workforce center. It is also our corporate office. And Hutchinson is the McLeod County Career Force Center, and it's located at Ridgewater College. Next, please. In your package, you're going to see the annual report, and rather than go through it, I'm going to encourage you. It's just a trifold. It used to be a lot thicker, but it really tells you all about our programs and services and has great answers in there for you. So I'm going to go, and this was actually, I have to show you this picture because Leslie is coming up, and she is included in there. She's all wrapped up in black, but this was our drive-in job fair, and it was the very first day of a blizzard, a snow blizzard. And I have to say that I've got very dedicated staff because they stood out there in the freezing and had a good time. Next, please. It's my honor to turn to this section of our presentation over to my very talented staff who are going to be bringing you some great information. So if you have any questions, we'll take those at the end. Thank you.
All right. Next slide. I am Tricia Bigwit. I am the Director of Finance with CMJTS. You can see if you've paged through the whole annual fiscal audit, you'll see that we managed over 57 grants this year. We had over $6.2 million in revenue, and we had to operate on less than 10% admin. What you're really concerned with is the results. So that's in the last part of your packet. And with that, you'll see that there was no issues found, no material weaknesses, no issues of deficiencies or anything pointed out. So we'll continue to be a low-risk auditee as we go into our annual fiscal audit this year. You can go to the next slide if you wouldn't mind. I already covered this, and then you can go to the next one. And this is the summary of results, and I am finished. Then you can go to the next slide.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dina Warnes, and I am one of the program managers at CMJTS. And I manage the public assistance programs, which would include the Minnesota Family Investment Program, the Diversionary Work Program, as well as the SNAP Employment and Training Program. And then I also manage our Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act grants, including the Dislocated Worker and the adult programs. So I'll be giving you a brief overview of those programs and who we serve. With the Minnesota Family Investment Program, we had a whole last probably 19, 20 months. With that peacetime emergency in place, we had lots of changes to our programming. I'm sorry if you'd advance the slide. We had a lot of changes with that peacetime emergency. However, it ended July 1st here in Minnesota. And with that, we were given, as a public assistance administration, what we call a 60-day wind-down period. And with that 60-day wind-down period, we were able to help our families on public assistance adjust to essentially the rules coming back into place. So with that, the Diversionary Work Program returned. That is a very short-term, 4-month, very job search intensive program that most first-time public assistance recipients begin with, and that returned for us September 1st. There was no sanction process in place during the peacetime emergency. That returned as well on September 1st. So now families who are not following through with their employment plan requirements are now held accountable to that sanction process. Wages are once again being reported. With the peacetime emergency, there were not monthly requirements to report income. That has returned for our families, which will also mean we'll have many families who will close off of MFIP due to being over income. And then those who are currently extended due to what we call an unemployable category, that no longer exists. And at this point, we'll be looking at extending families on MFIP who meet specific criteria. Next slide. With our MFIP program, it is designed in that it expects work, and what we mean by that is when individuals come into McLeod County to apply for services, they are referred to our agency and they work with an employment specialist who helps them identify their strengths and their barriers and then create an employment plan that focuses on work activities that get them back to self-sufficiency the quickest route possible. We support work in that we have funds available to help those families while they're working through their activities to either secure employment or become self-sufficient. And then we reward work with our MFIP program in that once a family starts receiving wages through work, they're actually weaned off of MFIP. It isn't a closed, cold turkey. We actually wean them off the program so that they can adjust to the changes. We help families identify those challenges and address barriers, but we also focus on strengths because we want to ensure that the activities they're participating in lead to self-sufficiency based on the skills and experience they have and grow with different additional training, research, soft skills, whatever they need to be successful. We do assess participants for their job readiness when they come to us. Next slide, please. So we talk about where they're at, what their work history looks like, what strengths and aptitude they have so that we can help them focus on a job search that's geared towards their strengths. We can help them write resumes. We help them with applications. May have not job searched for a very long time and need some help trying to figure out how to package their skills and talk about what they bring to the table to employers. We also have the SNAP Employment and Training Program. With our SNAP E&T program, McLeod County is one of 8 counties that's part of what we call the 8-county consortium for our CMJTS delivery area. And what that essentially means is that McLeod County is part of this consortium, and we all work together. All of the funds are pooled to serve those 8 counties together. Our staff facilitates that 100% program by means of receiving a referral when an individual goes in and applies for those food support dollars. It is voluntary in Minnesota. SNAP is a voluntary program to participate with employment and training. We are always marketing and outreach to try and bring individuals in because we know the value of our services in helping get people back to work quickly. There is something referred to as ABODs with the SNAP program. That would be able-bodied adults without dependents. And ABODs are time limited. That returns with the peacetime emergency ending as well. What that means is individuals who are considered ABODs can only receive food support for 3 months out of a 36-month period. After that time, they do need to be in activities that earn additional months. So our staff are working with families, individuals to help them earn those months. And then CMJTS is also the recipient of a grant through DHS called the SNAP 50/50. So what that means is we're able to serve any SNAP recipient with these funds in the state of Minnesota, regardless of residency. And what we do, we co-enroll them in a non-federally funded grant. So then every dollar we spend on that participant, we can bill back to this grant and receive 50 cents on the dollar to continue to build that SNAP 50/50 cost pool and continue to deliver services to our SNAP recipients. Next slide. We then have the adult and dislocated worker programs, and there's different criteria depending upon which program you might be applying for. Our employment specialists are the ones who determine that eligibility, and they take a look at that application. For our WIOA adult population, that's individuals who are 18 years of age, and then 75% of our enrollments must serve individuals who are either low income or underemployed. Our focus is on helping individuals get back to work quickly with that program. With our dislocated worker program, we're serving individuals who've lost their job due to no fault of their own. Maybe that's through a small layoff or a large layoff, maybe a company closure, whatever brings them to being dislocated. Typically, as long as they're eligible for unemployment insurance, they're eligible for our programming, and we can assist them with services. Those services can include career planning and counseling. So when they're working with our employment specialists, we're doing an assessment with them to identify what's the best career pathway for them. We administer career assessments to look at their skills, their interests, and their values. We also help with training services. So if an individual maybe needs some certifications or some credentials to be considered marketable or competitive, we can assist with that. We pay the tuition, the cost to attend that training. We also help with the job search again for our adult and dislocated worker participants, and that would include anything from mock interviewing to resume writing, helping them with labor market research to determine the best career pathway. And then we have the support service dollars available as well, and that can assist with those immediate barriers. Maybe they need help with car insurance or gas money while they're looking for work. Next slide, please. So that concludes my portion of the presentation. Diana Ristamaki is our youth program manager. She was unable to meet with us today. She was unable to be here. However, you do have information in your packets regarding our youth program services. And there is a youth program chart of eligibility in your information, which would also help you understand all of the different programs that we have available to serve our youth and young adults. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Leslie Witowitz. I am the Business Services Manager or Development Manager. I have several titles depending on what role I am filling at the time. But what I am bringing you today is all about our business services. So, next slide. I have a team of 3. They are across our 11 counties, and Bridget Paulson is the one that covers our southern regions. She took over that position during COVID, and she is very much a people person, likes to be in the businesses, making the contacts. So it was a challenge starting her position right when everything shut down. So she is very excited that things are open and she's making connections. So what she does is she helps qualified businesses with workers. She is constantly helping them access Minnesota Works, other job sites, connecting them with our customers that are being trained. We also provide some employee training. Businesses are eligible for on-the-job training. We connect youth with work experiences, transitional jobs. We offer incumbent worker, and then we also provide them apprenticeship resources. And then we can also have just resources for businesses, helping them during this time of the pandemic with resources, providing the Department of Labor presentations, and just really doing what we can to help them find workers, which, as you know, McLeod County is declining in population. It is a tight labor market. Next slide, please. So one of the key options that we can offer businesses is on-the-job training. So if we have customers that are eligible for our services, employers can hire them and get reimbursed for a certain length of time for the wages. So it really fills that skills gap. It allows them to do some in-person training. The business still makes the hiring decision, but then they also have that support of the employment specialist to make sure there are no hiccups along the way and that the employee can get the resources needed to maintain that employment. Next slide, please. And then a new program that we started a couple years ago is the Incumbent Worker Program. We have been able to serve a lot of businesses with this program. They can get reimbursed up to $25,000 for upskilling current employees and avoiding layoffs. We have 2 businesses currently in McLeod County that are taking advantage of this program, Mid-Minnesota Builders and Simonson Lumber. Both projects are upskilling current employees to get their commercial driver's license so that they can then have transferable skills and meet the company needs. I know that job postings were up here in McLeod County in September. There were 268. 235 full-time and 33 part-time openings. So there's a lot of opportunity for people wanting to get back to work here in this county. And that ends my presentation. Are there any questions?
I have one question, and if the answer was in here, I apologize that I missed it. But there's some programs for some housing that I'm connected with. It's something about moving the worker closer to his job. You know, there's some benefits to rental units while the person is reestablishing his workforce. Do you have any of that in here? There is a word for it, and I can't think of what it is, but it's...
I mean, we do work with TAA, so if it's a federal dislocation, I know there are some relocation assistance with customers who are eligible for that. The other rental assistance programs I'm not aware of.
Okay, thank you. It's based on, you know, if they're dislocated, or, you know, so, and they don't have much to get started on, they can start at we make allowances in their rent to get on their feet and then build that back up. And it could very well be a federal program, but I thought I thought the state actually had it, but I could be wrong.
I'm not sure.
Thank you. I know there's a lot of other things in here that...
Yes, there's a lot of information and opportunity.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Nathan.
And I guess I'll address this to Barb. When we met, I think it was last in our joint powers board meeting, you had a high concern about how the state legislature was starting to wrap up their discussions, and you were highly concerned about, shall we call it, the inequity of the funding when we're looking at rural Minnesota versus the metro. As the session did wrap up, were you satisfied how the funding formula came together?
We are actually going through our next round, and so it did not pass. So we are going to go back to the table and work with the Department of Employment and Economic Development so that we can really focus on the dislocated worker funding. And there has been, a great divide between the metro and rural Minnesota, and we're just in force telling them and reminding them that there is a rural Minnesota and greater Minnesota that really needs funding too. So, and it's actually like almost 50-50. It used to be pretty much 50-50 as far as how many people live in the metro area and how many people live in outstate. But I think we're seeing a lot more people moving out, and so it could be that there could be a change in demographics there. So, but I'll keep you informed of that. But thank you for the question. And one last thing, this is our 11th consecutive year that we have had a perfect audit, and that is almost unheard of in our business. So I just wanted to add that punch. And thank you for being on our board. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Nathan.
And then I'd like to comment that the visit to McLeod County has been in the works for months. I think when I reminded Barb that we moved into a new government center.
It's beautiful. That's beautiful.
her concern was to make sure we do an in-person meeting versus a Zoom presentation. So I think this is your last visit to the counties you serve.
I finished them all now, and we were very happy to be here.
And we're appreciative that you came here with your staff. Thank you. I believe you're a dedicated group of people looking out for the interests of rural Minnesota, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us, and this is lovely. You're very fortunate. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, and congratulations on your audit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we back to county administration? Is that right? Review of calendars. Commissioner Lukens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kind of a short 2-week period. Monday on the 20th, we had the county workshop. 22nd was McLeod County Advisory Commission meeting. And on the 23rd, the McLeod County
Mr. Wright.
Okay. After our last board meeting, we had a budget meeting. Then after that, Health and Human Services, CRF meeting last week, a Zoom meeting on JD 11, which we were able to successfully go through the petition to abandon a section of that ditch. And last night, meeting with the Association of McLeod County Townships.
I also had HHS meeting here at the Government Center on the 28th. We've had a couple CRF or ARPS funding meetings. I met yesterday with, or I went to the SWCD board meeting. Basically touching on, just listening and touching on on-land storage and some things we could possibly do with ARPS money to take off some of the burden on some of the drainage. I also met yesterday, as we talked earlier, on Morningside with SCH, John, Justin, and Sheila, and I attended last night's annual township meeting. It was basically a listening session with some comments on the burning ban ordinance and ARPS funding. I did miss on the 22nd. I had Mid-Minnesota Development. We're just getting back to where we're meeting in person. It takes a while to get everybody back and used to it. And there was some discussion on transportation, transit, and a lot of discussion on volunteer drivers. That will continue. So that brings me to today. Commissioner Nagel.
After the board meeting, talked about the workshop and the budget committee meeting that happened after that, which focused a lot on insurance, which we're going to go over here just a little bit. We already spoke about the DC fly-in, so I won't go over that anymore. Health and Human Services had a meeting yesterday at our solid waste facility regarding some potential construction there that needs to occur. And then the township meeting last night.
And Mr. Chair, since your last board meeting, like Joe, I was part of the DC fly-in, and I think we summarized that previously in our meeting. And then that brings me to this week, or I'd say the following week on the 28th, I did Health and Human Services here at the Government Center in Glencoe. I also participated in the blood drive that the county hosted on the 30th of September. And brings us to this past Monday. I, along with Commissioner Kruger, attended a meeting on site with the Morningside project, and I was thankful for the meeting that we had. I believe it was a very beneficial and fruitful for us to understand the project as it's nearing completion out there. And then, like the other commissioners have said, I attended the annual McLeod County Association of Townships meetings last night as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Sheila, have you got anything to add?
I have nothing to add. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, can we move into the Budget Committee recommendation?
Thank you. Item A, consider approval of Budget Committee recommendation for 2022 non-union health insurance employer contribution of $728.69 towards single coverage, $1,093.04 toward employee plus children coverage, $1,093.04 toward employee plus spouse coverage, and $1,457.38 toward family contribution or coverage. $235.13 for eligible employees who choose the opt-out option for coverage. There are 3 networks available within the plan options. The 2021 approved non-union health insurance employer contribution was $828.69 towards single coverage, $1,385.67 toward family contribution coverage. And please note that we did not have employee plus children or employee plus spouse coverage last year. We also had the same amount at $235.13 for the opt-out option for coverage for eligible employees, with 3 networks available within the plan options. The one big change that you see there is that we're suggesting $100 less for the single coverage, and that might be of immediate alarm or concerns people who are watching from our employee group or to the board. That would be because of the significant decreases in the rates this year. You'll see below that even with that decreased employer contribution to the rate, that the employee still comes out ahead, and also in the next agenda item with the health savings account match amounts. In 2021, the county offered single and family coverage only, which was called it's a 2-tier plan. For 2022, McLeod County is able to offer single, employee plus children, employee plus spouse, and family coverage, a 4-tier plan, due to changes in rates for the upcoming year. The decreased 2022 employer contributions recommended still offer the significant increased savings and significant increased options to the employees due to our plan rate reductions for 2022 and changes with our insurance cooperative Southwest West Central, which our Commissioner Joe Nagel represents McLeod County on that board. You can see the comparison of the 2021 versus 2022 premium cost to employee with the recommended employer contributions in the agenda and on our website. There is no additional cost to the county using the recommended contributions that are listed. A significant cost savings is expected to the majority of employees in 2022 versus 2021 due to the plan options and rates provided. When we compared the plans to the most comparable plan that the employee was already in, there's significant savings in all of them except for 2 plans, I believe, but there's 48 options. So even if they would have gotten significant savings going from the same plan to the same style plan, they might even be able to go to a different plan that makes more sense for them and save even more money. And there's also not an increase of cost to the county. There's a savings on both sides with these recommendations. This is for the non-union employee coverage contribution for 2022.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Sheila, I understand and respect that they're 2 separate items, but I think it would do the board some good to hear item B also, because we're essentially rolling some of our contributions into a health savings account. So can you address that now?
Yes,
And
thank
then
you.
we can take them separate.
So item B talks about the health savings account employer match. We're asking you to consider approval of the Budget Committee's recommendation for the 2022 non-union employer-sponsored health insurance health savings account plan participant matching contribution of up to $1,200, maximum dollar for dollar for single plan participants, and $1,800 maximum dollar for dollar for other eligible HSA tiers, which would be employee plus children, employee plus spouse, or the family coverage. So that is just the maximum liability to the county that we're asking for. For the single coverage, that averages out to up to $100 per month. For the family, it averages out to up to $150 per month. The county board approved the 2021 non-union health insurance HSA plan participant matching contribution of $500, maximum dollar for single plan participants, and $1,000 maximum dollar for family plan participants. The recommendation amounts above correlate with the previous agenda item, recommending the 2022 non-union employee health insurance premium contribution amounts. With both of these items approved as recommended, there is not an increased cost to the county. As well, if approved, the employees can still benefit from decreased premium cost savings and have the opportunity for increased matching funds in their health savings account for 2022. We wish all employees could put money in their health savings account. We know that they all don't. Not all of them do, or they're not going to go up to the maximum amount. We're showing you the maximum, that there's not a cost to you at the maximum match. Not an increased cost over 2021. Sorry. Thank you. So with that, going back to item A, asking you to consider approval of our recommendation.
This is quite a difference from the 10 to 30% increases that we've been seeing in the past 10 years.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, if I could make one more comment with that.
Go ahead.
I appreciate that. This is just for this year, and this is new for Commissioners Luthens and Schmalz as a county board. We have to have a health insurance reopener every year because health insurance changes so much. We made a decision a couple of years ago to go away from our self-funded small group plan. We stayed with Sibley County. It used to be McLeod, Sibley, and Trailblazer. Our fund balances were going down. It wasn't working anymore, and that all depends on plan performance, right? It depends on what happens to us every year. I've made this statement a couple of times in our groups. I would assume that some of these savings are based on, one, the investment that SWWC has made into switching from Blue Cross Blue Shield to Medica, and that affecting the plan rates for this year, but also knowing that we couldn't have a lot of the elected visits that our employees would normally have, right? During the pandemic, the doctors didn't see people for a lot of things that they normally do. I would assume that affects it, and as things change, we don't know what next year will look like, but we never know what next year will look like. So we try to make the best decision we can with what we have. Our employees have been asking for more options for quite some time, as long as it was viewed as a benefit to most. This is the 4-tier plan rates are better than the 2-tier plan rates for McLeod County and Sibley County this year.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve. We got to get to discussing it. So.
Part A.
Part A, yes.
I'll second it.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Wright and seconded by Commissioner Nagel to approve Part A. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Asking for you to consider approval for item B.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve item B.
And second.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel and seconded by Commissioner Smalls to approve item B. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving item B, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item C, notification of board workshop to be held following the county board meeting on October 19, 2021 at the McLeod County Government Center here at 520 Chandler Avenue North, Blanco, Minnesota. Thank you.
So we're coming to the end of our meeting. Is there anything from the board that should be brought up for the good of the cause? I do have one thing I neglected to start. I try to recognize, especially our local people, and I did miss that this is Fire Prevention Week. And I noticed that the flags were at half-staff on Monday, I believe, and I think that, or sometime this weekend, I think it was Monday, and I guess it was for the staff that had been out fighting the fires. But regardless of that, I seen our Glencoe Fire Department out yesterday working with the kids, and I'm sure the rest of the fire departments in the county. I just want a few words of appreciation for what they do. That's all I have. Press relations. Nothing, Karen? Okay, very well. I would entertain a motion to recess our meeting until, go ahead.
Public comment?
That was our open forum. Oh, all right, go ahead. State your name.
Good morning. My name's Steve Cook from Hutchinson, and I would just like to ask the board to consider scheduling a workshop to talk about the Dakota Rail Trail and what might be the next steps in trying to bring that to fruition. I know, the trail plan's been done. There's some grant opportunities. I know also last year, several cities and individuals sent a letter, asking about trying to consider doing something more and applying for another grant. The workshop could help, just bring some of that together. I also know that there's been concern about some of the costs with maintenance. If you like, if a workshop was scheduled, I could try to invite the analyst with the Parks and Trails Council of Minnesota. They've done pretty extensive analysis of the paved state trails, looking at life cycles and things like that. And he's done a presentation to a committee with the state legislature last year that was very well received, and works with the DNR. So again, if the workshop was scheduled, maybe that individual could come and share some of that and answer some questions as well. Thanks.
Good. Thank you. Any questions for Steve? Thank you. Motion's been made to recess until October 19th, 9 a.m. here at the Government Center.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Smalls. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is recessed.